Hello and welcome back to the College Football Fanatics podcast. I'm your host, Daniel. As always, I am here to tell you all about the news following college football. Um, so, what should we start off with? All right. So this upcoming month's schedule is going to be a little different. We're going to have almost no Wednesday episodes during the break. Over on my main channel, which is linked in the description below, uh, is the link to my in the description below is the link to my main channel. It is the official College Football Fanatics channel, and it has more episodes. I usually do 2 to 3 episodes a month or a week over there. Sorry, not a month. And I usually put a little bit more time and care, and I usually edit those episodes, so they're not usually live streams. Um, but over break, I'm going to be doing something a little different. I'm going to watch at least a half from every game of every team that made the college football playoffs. So I'm going to watch a half of every game from TCU, Georgia, Ohio State, and Michigan. Um, so I'll be doing all of that, and I'll have a spotlight team each week up until the college football playoffs begin. And I'll be breaking down kind of what I see, what's their strengths, what's their weaknesses, who obviously who I think is going to win. Um, but I'm also going to be looking at, who's the star players on this team. Where are the shatter points? If one team does this to the other, what's going to completely break down that opposing team? So, I'll probably start with Michigan and TCU first, and then go on to Ohio State and Oregon, or not Oregon, sorry, Ohio State and Georgia. That's the team. That's the team. Um, so it should be a lot of fun. It really is going to be pretty interesting to go through and do all of that, and it's gonna take a bunch of time, obviously, because you've got 12 games from each team, and it's going to be a different sort of experience. The episodes are probably going to be put together a little better as well, so you can expect that on the quality side um of the episodes. So they're going to be longer form episodes, mostly talking about the college football playoffs, but again, we'll have 2 episodes a week, so we're going to go through news and stuff like that. But let's go on to the big news this week, which is well, I should say, this past week, which is Deion Sanders is going to Colorado. And I had heard whispers about this um going back probably 2 weeks now. Um, and I make comparisons to this in the idea that Luke Fickle, who was the coach for Cincinnati, is going to Wisconsin. And I said on this show right here, I said this is going to be a match made in heaven. This Luke Fickle is going to bring Wisconsin back to a national prominence, a to a point where they're not just, okay, we play Wisconsin, who's the next team we're going to play, as they occasionally have been. And Wisconsin is very much a team that goes up and down, because it usually depends on how their recruiting is going, and how they're able to um stack up their recruits and build them up. And if do recruits leave, do recruits stay, things like that. So, but I think Luke Fickle, Deion Sanders is going to completely rejuvenate this Colorado University that has for so long been seen as kind of a joke football team. I mean, they they're barely a footnote on most, team schedules. And, when they do play a team that's, somewhat in their, mediocrity, they tend to suck more, essentially. And it's hard to see because this is a Colorado team that one of my favorite analysts, football analysts, Joel Klatt, played for. So he played for them, and at the time they were actually a fairly decent football team. So they're bringing in Deion Sanders, which I think their president or like one of their media people released a statement saying like, yeah, we don't even have the money to afford his salary yet, but we're gonna find it and do something about it. Um, but things I already have questions, and will I think last year's number one recruit in the country was Travis Hunter. And my question is he gonna go with Deion Sanders um to his to Colorado. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there for a second. Because we've already seen several players from the HBCU that Deion Sanders was coaching at, JSU. We have seen several of his players transfer already to Colorado to go be with him. So, is Travis Hunter, if he's not already one, is he going to move with him? Obviously Deion Sanders, that big name, is going to be bringing in more more players, likely it's going to. I'll sit here and say this for a second, and I'm probably going to get blasted at some point by my the statement that I'm about to make, which is I think Deion Sanders could do something like what Lincoln Riley did at USC, is come in and in 1 year, actually not even 1 year, in 6 months, turn around an entire program and possibly play for a college football playoff spot. Now there are some glaring differences in the idea that USC was more prominent, in my opinion, more recently. They were prominent in a, it hasn't been 30 years since they've been prominent. It's been more like 15. So it's gonna be really interesting to see what Deion Sanders is gonna do in reaching out through the portal, the transfer portal, and seeing who he can get. Is he gonna bring in is he gonna bring in um is he going to bring in like a quarterback like Hudson Card, or is he going to bring in, what type of style team is he going to run there? Because Jackson State University, you know, it's going to be a very different atmosphere in the sense that you're going to be playing now Division 1 schools. You weren't playing that at Jackson State. You're going to be playing, some of the best out there. So it's gonna be really interesting to see what he has up his sleeve. And talking about the transfer portal, it's been absolutely wild with more than 1,000 players going into the transfer portal on day one. Last year, I think they hit 3,000 players all going into the transfer portal over the entirety of, I think, the entirety of the season. I think they've changed that now to you have 45 days starting from Monday. You now have 45 days to enter the transfer portal, and then I think commit. And then I think there's actually going to be a time at the end of spring training, which you can also enter the transfer portal. So it's going to be like, if you don't see yourself starting next year, you can enter and see if you can get a better position somewhere else. Um, or you can stay with your team, whatever you want. Coaches can possibly hold out for the spring, but if they don't get the player that they want, it can really affect them over the rest of the season. So, you know, and part of me loves this style of because it allows for more movement within the schools, and it makes coaches work a little harder in the recruiting area of transfers. Um, but another part of me absolutely hates it because it feels almost like a free agency where, oh, I'm not getting a six-figure NIL deal at, whatever your name university is. Okay, well, I'm going to go to what's their name university and get a six-figure deal. So it worries me in the sense that this could really turn into just a whole thing about money. And I am still for name, image, likeness all the way. I think that the players should be able to profit off of their own backs, but it's still the Wild West out here. I mean, it is very much undiscovered territory. The rules are a bit shifty. So we'll see over the next 2 years how this transitions into something probably a little more professional. But it has been a wild year so far for the transfer portal. I mean, you already have players like Cade McNamara going in and committing to Iowa, and he's bringing with him he's bringing with him Eric All, who, if you don't know, is Michigan's best tight end, who has been out for the season injured. There was some very cryptic tweets that this guy that Eric All left on his Twitter. And there is reports that there was disagreement about whether or not Eric All should have gotten the back surgery that he got, which is why he was out for the season. And so, part of some people think that that's what led to his decision to leave Michigan and go to Iowa with Cade McNamara. I think he also realized that, you have Colston Loveland, sorry, not Colton, Colston Loveland, who's really making a name for himself in the past, in the latter part of this season. He had a great touchdown that was like double coverage against Purdue, and it's like, oh, you think you can stick two guys on me? Well, no, actually you can't. I'm still gonna catch the ball and get the touchdown. So it's those types of types of players. I think he realizes that he might not get the amount of snaps because he hasn't played in several months, and he'll likely not play for several more months. So it's all going to be, it's all about, where is he going to play, and he'll probably play at Purdue, and I have no doubt that Cade McNamara will play at Purdue. Those two guys could probably turn around Purdue's offense right now. I mean, Purdue always has a very good defense. Purdue's offense this year was sorely lacking in a good quarterback. Sorry, but Petrus just isn't. He's an okay quarterback. If he had a great O line surrounding him, he'd be much better. But he doesn't, and they just don't have anything to help him. And Eric All gives a big target for Cade McNamara, and they already have chemistry. They're literally roommates at Michigan, so they'll probably continue to be roommates at Iowa. So it'll all be pretty interesting to see how that works out. He'll be playing against Michigan, I think, at least once. So I think he goes into Iowa with 2 years of either two or three. It's 2 or 3 years of eligibility. Actually, I think it's 3 years because he got a medical red shirt. So he's going to be going in with probably 3 years of eligibility. Um, And so I don't think Michigan will play Iowa next year unless Michigan and Iowa both make the Big Ten championship, which, you know, somewhat plausible. Michigan, I think it's more plausible for Michigan to make the Big Ten championship than it is for Iowa. Just considering how bad Iowa was this season. So, we'll have to keep an eye on them for transfers and things like that. So, but if I don't think they'll meet next year, they will definitely meet the following year if they don't meet next year. Because I think they meet every other year if I'm remembering correctly. So, all right. Next up is the Michigan Purdue game. This game was phenomenal. This game was really fun to watch as a Michigan fan. Um, Will Johnson absolutely showed out. I mean, he brought pride to the number that he was wearing. That number 2. He really did. He had 2 interceptions. He only gave up 15 yards on 7 targets. So I think he had like 3 pass breakups too. So being a freshman and having those types of stats really shows that he has the potential to probably and possibly be Michigan's best defensive back ever. Now I know Charles Woodson holds that title. He's really the one that Michigan always points to and says this is our best ever DB. But Will Johnson, I think in the next 3 years is really going to have a chance to possibly outshine him. And really end up moving on. JJ McCarthy looked phenomenal. He kept his eyes downfield. I was talking about in the Illinois game, there were a couple of times where if he had just kept his eyes downfield, he could have thrown the ball to, I think it was either Colson Loveland or Max Bredesen or another target like that. And they could have gotten 20 yards instead of running for it and getting 2 or 3 yards. So JJ's been doing a great job at keeping his eyes downfield and really making sure that if he's running, it's because running is his last option and not because running is he just wants to do it. But he's been extending plays. The O-line, they still look good. They're being led by Oluwatimi. And I think he said he was coming back next year. I'm not 100% positive on that though. But it really he has the potential to be a first round draft pick, I think. So, and then there's Mike Sanders still, who after being 3 years on a wide receiver as a wide receiver for Michigan, switching over to cornerback, to that defensive back styled position, cornerback, I should say, not defensive back, but just cornerback. And he really it fit like a glove. I mean, he is so good at that position. And I wouldn't be surprised if he entered, he's going to be coming back for next year. But after next year, I wouldn't be surprised if Mike Sanderson decided that he's going to go and try and enter the draft. And I wouldn't be surprised if he entered the draft as a second round pick and possibly even a late first round pick. And for a guy who's only been playing defensive back cornerback 2 years, that's going to be phenomenal. He had a big game against Ohio State. He had a pretty good game against Purdue. I'll get all the details on that in my other episodes, but when I do a deep dive into Michigan, but it was It was a lot of fun to watch. Um, the defense looked really sharp. They were putting a lot of pressure on Aiden O'Donnell, and he was just not getting the time to get set and throw the ball. And he is not as athletic as JJ McCarthy, so it's not like he's able to quite run around in quite the same fashion that he does. And so, it was very clear that that Purdue just had no answer in the second half to what Michigan was pushing, and Michigan started the game playing a lot of zone defense. And I was looking at this, and I'm like, you're playing against a team that's throwing 40 times a game at least. Uh, and their main thing is just nickel and diming it down the field. They're not throwing it 40 times and getting, 40, 60-yard plays. No, they're getting 45-yard plays. They're getting 45-yard 40 plays for 5 yards each, and they're just basically wearing you down. Why are you playing this in a zone defense? Play it in man like you've done all season. It's worked for you. It has been successful. You are in the Big Ten championship. You've won the Big Ten championship now. Why were you playing zone defense most of the first half? It made no sense to me. And then in the second half, they switched to man for the most part, that I could notice at least, and they did a lot of cover two and things like that. Um, so it's not like it's not like they were just not um um it's not like they were just not they weren't making adjustments. It was just I was just like, why are you running zone? You've rarely ran zone. You didn't even run zone against Ohio State, and arguably Ohio State has better matchups on the wide receiving core. Why were you running zone? So when they switched to man, I was very happy with that. I thought, Jesse Minter, you're making a smart decision. You've been making smart decisions all season. You should have won the Broyles Award, in my opinion. But congratulations to this TCU offensive coordinator, I believe. He did win the Broyles Award. So, yeah, but it was confusing to me. And then Michigan, Donovan Edwards is a great running back. He's really, really good. Um, but he's not Blake Corum. He's not the guy that's going to power through uh, 5 guys who are trying to push him back. He's going to be a speed guy with nice elusiveness. Um, but in my opinion, he's probably going to be more of a stretch running back than a power running back. But Michigan has been using him as a power running back. And I can't, I understand, Jim Harbaugh, your philosophy is power. It's beat them down until they submit to you. I understand that. I get it. But play to your players' strengths. Play to your players' strengths. CJ Stokes is going to be more of a power running back than Donovan Edwards is. And I'm not saying you can't run power plays with Donovan Edwards, but I'm just saying you're probably going to have more success running the ball, because I know that's what you want to do. That is the identity of your team, is you want to run the ball on them. You did it against Penn State. You did it against Iowa. You did it against Indiana. You did it against Maryland. You did it against Ohio State. You've done it against Purdue. You're going to do it against TCU. I understand running the ball is your forte, but run to your players' strengths. Don't run to what you want them to be. Run to what they are. And Donovan Edwards will have a lot better success if you pull a tackle and you push the tackle out left and you run the ball out left in a sort of counter sweep. Um, you'll have more success if you go through those outside gaps instead of trying to go through the outside gaps following Olu Timmy. I understand you want to be that power team, but without a power back like Blake Corum, you're not going to be. And CJ Stokes, he's a decent player right now. He needs to develop before he's into that power style running back. You'll have that running back actually next year in Cole Cabana. Cole Cabana is a very powerful power back. He's going to be that power back for you. He's fast. He's strong. He's going to keep his legs moving for you. Wait till next year. Run stretch plays. Just do it. Stretch out the defense. Force them to respect your run. You can then hit them with a pass play without having to rely on the pass play to get your running game going. That's what you want. Is you want to force you want to rely on your run game, and then every so often do a play action, throw it to Colson Loveland, throw it to Luke Schoonmaker, throw it to Ronnie Bell, throw it to whoever you want to throw it to. So it's not just that I understand you want to be a power school, but you've got to let those running plays open up the other options that your team has. You have a lot of weapons on this team. There are a lot of weapons on this team. Use them to the best of their ability, not to the mold you want them to fit into. And in the past 2 weeks, I have seen far more play creativity from this offense than I did almost the entire season. Ohio State, I saw so much play creativity. It was great. I was loving the fact that we weren't running the ball at the middle 2 times every drive, or every 4 downs. We weren't running the ball up the middle 2 times. It was phenomenal. I loved to see it. And then, and I love to see, whipping out those play action passes and things like that. And you saw how it worked for you. One of the things that you saw in the Ohio State game was you forced Ohio State to respect the pass game, even the deep pass game with Cornelius Johnson. You forced them to respect it, and then bam, in the last quarter, after they had been forced to drop their men back, drop their safeties, they couldn't just completely brush up their safeties. They couldn't completely press their corners. They had to drop their guys back. They couldn't continuously running blitzes with their linebackers. They had to drop those back. You then saw Blake Corum run to the races or not Blake Corum, sorry, Donovan Edwards run to the races. And you saw him do 270 plus yard runs on a defense that was now forced to respect the pass game. Now you just need to do the opposite. You have to run plays that will work with Donovan Edwards to make teams like TCU and Georgia and Ohio State force them to respect the run game, and then hit them over the top. Then hit them with a play action. Then hit them with a corner route or a corner post route, something like that. And I guarantee, with that play creativity, you'll have so much more success. And you'll win a national championship. You will, if you play like that. I guarantee it. And it's, one of the things is, I wish Blake Corum was able to play in a national championship game. If you make it, I'll be talking about the TCU Michigan matchup on my other channel. It's again linked in the description below. Go follow me. Go subscribe there. more content there. That's going to be it for this week's episode on here on Gales Radio. So please subscribe to Gales Radio. It's been, it's been great. We'll be taking breaks for winter break, but I'll still be posting content on the College Football Fanatics YouTube channel. Again, link in the description below. And I hope you guys all have a great day. It's been a lot of fun talking, and I will see you guys next time.